Well, guys, a very different video today. I'm sure a lot of you know about the Hollywood writer's strike that's going on right now. It's been going on for a couple months, and now everything in Hollywood is practically shut down since every actor, screenwriter, producer, whatever that's part of a union is now going on strike, which is practically all of Hollywood for all intents and purposes. Needless to say, this has been a big roller coaster of emotions for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people too. A lot of us who talk about film and television shows. The last I can remember with a writer's strike was back in 2007 or 2008. It was the Writers Guild of America strike. I don't know exactly what that was all about. I remember it happening, but I don't remember all the details of what went down. I know eventually it got resolved, and this strike will get resolved too at some point. But when exactly? Well, remains to be seen. A lot of people are predicting probably a good long time, maybe like a year or maybe even more than a year, depending on how long these executives want to ride this out. Some are predicting some kind of an arrangement between the Hollywood executives and the people going on strike in the fall or something like that. My predictions? I don't know. There's too many factors that could go into this. And just to be clear, I am on the side of these people here, but I also am hoping that there's somebody in the executive circles that has some kind of clout, that has enough decency to come out and say, hold on, we need to figure something out here. We cannot let this drag out any more than we want it to. Apparently, David Zaslav of Warner Brothers Discovery has publicly said that he's not a fan of what's been going on, and that he wants to try to come up with some kind of an arrangement. Whether or not you like the guy is another story. At least from what I saw about a week or two ago, that does give me some hope that maybe not everybody in the Hollywood studio circles are completely aloof and want to actually try to come to some compromise. As far as what Bob Iger said publicly, if you actually read the quote and not just rely on the headlines, which I did not, thankfully, still, that was, yeah. If you doubt me, you could check it out. A bunch of media outlets have posted about it. Since it circles around on social media, it's bound to get spun in a different way, that people want to make it seem a certain way. This is the media. You got to take that into consideration. When I read that quote, though, all I said was, Bob, you're rolling the wrong way. You really are. That's the wrong thing to say. That ain't right. Basically, the strike is happening because they want to be compensated with streaming and theatrical releases. It's a wide variety of stuff that other people who know better about this stuff can point out. But a big thing is involving AI and how they want AI to be the main factor or the only factor in making a movie. Writing a script, using an actor's likeness, so that way they don't really need them to go through a certain audition process. It saves them a lot of money, probably, in order to get these actors hired or whatnot. But there's a problem with that. If you were to use a likeness of a certain actor, the person who would sign permission wouldn't really be needed by that studio, and then the other studios who don't have permission to use their likeness, they wouldn't be able to hire them for that particular job, so that person is practically out of luck. Basically, anyone in Hollywood that could be phased out of a job due to AI. Do I think AI is completely evil? No, I wouldn't go that far. I think in a lot of ways it could be useful, if it maybe moderates certain types of screenplays, or maybe keeps some things in line in Hollywood. I don't know exactly what they're entailing or what they're offering to do in terms of filmmaking or television production and so on. Any tools that are made by human beings can be made of good use. But like with anything else, it can be used for bad purposes. CGI, bad writing, you name it. And in other factors of life too. And AI has been a big factor in other areas of the economy, not just in Hollywood. That's a whole nother topic entirely, and I don't know enough about that, but I think it was something that was an inevitability that we were, as human beings, legitimately going to have to contend with in some capacity. And with this strike, we're already starting to see those things. And I think a lot of these Hollywood executives who want to use AI for everything don't really understand that you're probably not going to get a lot of good quality. You'll probably just get a lot of boring stuff that would just basically be assembled on an assembly line and nothing really special would come out of it. How else would you get pieces of media or pieces of art like The Departed, or Good Will Hunting, or The Dark Knight, or Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Spider-Man, or some of the all-time greatest television shows like Game of Thrones, Sopranos, 24, Walking Dead, The Last of Us, for crying out loud. I don't know if I would call it the all-time greatest shows, but in my book it is. You guys get what I mean. That's a show among many other productions that have been affected by the strike. A lot of shows and movies are being pushed back because of all the requirements of the strike for any actor who's participating in this. They're not allowed to attend premieres, promote their films or projects. This is going to have a huge ripple effect in the industry. The coronavirus pandemic didn't cause enough of a dent. This one's going to add more fuel to the fire. I don't want to be a doom and gloom person or anything. All I know is for sure, this is going to have serious consequences. However long this takes to get resolved, that remains to be seen, and the effects are going to be felt for a good amount of time. What's going to come out of this exactly? Hell if I know. Could be totally wrong here. The industry is going to look very different. I mean, it was already on its way to becoming a different landscape. The pandemic further accelerated that, with the audiences not fully returning to the theater. It's still a good amount of people that are coming to the movies, but streaming has also played a huge factor in this. If you have like a short amount of time between theatrical release and digital release, likely people are not going to be in a rush to see something. Now, I'm okay personally with options. Some movies I'll go see in the theater, others I'll just wait to come out on streaming. I got no problem with that, but generally speaking with the audiences, there's still a good amount of them that haven't come back yet. I also think social media and media coverage of certain movies are to blame for that. If they cause a huge fuss negatively about a certain movie, some people are going to say, I'll probably just not go see it, or I'll just wait till it comes out on streaming. Some people in the internet space have to share some of that blame because they have to be so loud on their soapbox about how much they don't like a certain piece of media or how they don't like a certain company that's making it for XYZ. They say political reasons and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole lot of other stuff that factors into this stuff. What I'm trying to get at is this writer's strike, or Hollywood strike, whatever you want to call it. This is really going to be a big change. Some people have predicted this might be a rise of new independent cinema like we saw back in the 70s, where blockbusters went away for a while, and I've seen some people say that they want Marvel and Lucasfilm and DC to go away and die after this strike is over. I'm sorry, that's never going to happen. It'll look different probably, but the MCU and Star Wars are never going to go away. Neither is DC. None of those are going away. You can include those things along with other stuff too. The newer independent films that are not based on certain IPs or whatnot. You don't have to have one over the other. They're not mutually exclusive. I'm somebody who wants the best of both worlds. You can have the big franchises along with the smaller films as well. There's nothing wrong with having both. It doesn't really surprise me that these executives are treating people like screenwriters and actors and producers and all that like garbage. It's still rather disheartening though. Every job that I've had, including the one I have now, I've seen higher ups treat their subordinates like dirt. Even when I was in the military, not to paint the military in a bad light, I have no regrets serving, but there were certain situations that I saw of people of a certain higher rank rubbed a lot of people below them the wrong way. Something they said, something they did, a lot of people the same rank as I was got screwed over. Same job that I have now. Somebody applied for a certain position that they wanted and they didn't get it. And somebody who was in the similar position that they were, who didn't have a whole lot of experience, they got it instead. Every other job too had this similar problem. People in those positions wonder why they can't keep anybody. Well, it's pretty self-explanatory if you're paying attention, because you're not taking care of the people below you. It's not that hard to figure out. I'm not saying you gotta be all warm and fuzzy and everything, but at least show some common decency. Show them that you actually care. And that's not to say that there aren't people in my current job that don't care. I'm fortunate enough to be in a new position in the post office where I have people who are in charge that actually care about the people below them. But I've been around the block long enough to see what exactly is going on, and Hollywood is no different. It's not really surprising. I feel like it's always been like that in some capacity. It's just now we're more aware of it due to the digital age. Depending on how long the strike goes, movie theaters will suffer once again. I really hope and pray that they find some kind of solution soon. But if they drag this out for at least a good year and a half or whatever, like some of the doomsday people are predicting, yeah, this isn't gonna end well. I'm just in a wait and see attitude. Just gonna watch what happens and see where it goes. One thing's for sure though, I'm not gonna stop making content on here. However this affects the cinematic landscape or the entertainment world, I'm always going to find stuff to talk about. Shows, movies, games, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I could pull from. That's not going away. This will get resolved eventually. It might not seem like that now, but eventually it's going to fall into place. Let's just wait and see what happens. Also, some other YouTubers that I follow, they suggested in one of their podcasts, depending on how long the strike goes on, why not make it a point to release some older films in theaters and help them stay afloat financially? I mean, we live in a nostalgia-based society with entertainment, so why not capitalize on that even further? At least until you can get this strike resolved. And it could also be a message to society that you're not just going to remake the same movie that they already know and love. There's nothing wrong with remaking a movie, as long as you have a good creative reason for it. But you guys get what I mean though. I can only hope and pray that this gets resolved as smoothly as possible. Thanks guys for watching. Comment below and tell me what your thoughts are on this whole crazy situation. What are your hopes, dreams, and aspirations for this? If that's anything to take away from it. Let's try to keep this as level-headed and calm as possible. I know there's a lot of negativity surrounding this situation, as with a lot of other things on the internet. Let's just try to keep it civil, please. There's no need to go crazy. Thanks again, guys. Stay tuned for more content from me, and I'll see you in the next one.